quickly. Now, being a police officer may not seem like a very safe or secure lifestyle, but as a public employee, the police officer receives a steady wage, predictable benefits, and a secure pension. Even if killed in the line of duty, the police officer's family is taken care of. The criminal disdains such security in the quest for big money fast. The risks are greater, but, to the crook's eye, the rewards are worth the risks. There is even a bit of folk wisdom among the professionals. If you can't do the time, then don't do the crime. If the penalty, prison sentence, for the prospective crime is more than you think you can bear, then don't take the risk. But they take the risks. The average criminal is not deterred by the thought of being caught and punished. The death penalty does not stop professional hitmen. Disgrace and prison do not deter embezzlers or stock manipulators. What of the future? There will always be criminals among us, because there will always be a few men and women who want to bypass the accepted rules of their society, who want to try to break the second law of thermodynamics and get something for nothing, or at least get something for far less work than they would have to exert to get it legally. In this audiobook, we examine a variety of criminals of the near and far future. Murder, arson, revolution, youth gangs, and extortion are all subject matter for these stories. But since we are dealing here with science fiction, and science fiction is a hopeful kind of literature when it's done right, these stories also show some possible ways of dealing with crime and criminals. For example, since the end of World War II, youth gangs have grown dangerously in size, firepower, and viciousness in cities all around the world. In the U.S., youth gangs that once rumbled over turf, that is, hand-to-hand fights over territorial rights in their neighborhoods, now shoot it out on the streets over control of the retail narcotics trade. City of Darkness, a complete novel, looks at street gangs from a slightly different point of view. Here, youth gangs are examined as a response to a problem, rather than the problem itself. For the truth is that street gangs are an attempt by uneducated social outcasts to build some form of viable society for themselves. When family, school, and the normal modes of society fail, the kids form their own societies, just as our primitive ancestors did. And they use many of the social techniques that Stone Age tribes did, to the anguish and delight of the few anthropologists who have taken the trouble to examine the phenomenon. I suppose I am the only person who regards William Golding's Lord of the Flies as a hopeful, uplifting novel. Most people see the schoolboys who are cast away on a deserted island reverting to savagery and mutter the common wisdom, "How thin is the veneer of civilization that covers our brutish true nature?" To which I reply, garbage. The schoolboys, thrown on their own resources on the island, quickly revert to Stone Age behavior because they either learn how to live that way, or they die. They do not have electricity or grocery markets to serve them. They adapt to their primitive surroundings. They drive out the weaklings. The group survives. Perhaps Golding did not intend for this to be read into his novel, but to me, the book is a hymn to human adaptability and survival. Just as Golding's cherubic schoolboys became Stone Age savages, so do many of the youngsters in today's urban ghettos revert to tribalism and form gangs as their way of surviving in a hostile environment where no other help seems available to them. Then there is the question of how we treat criminals once they are behind bars. Out of Time and the short novel Escape raise questions about the way the criminal justice system attempts to rehabilitate criminals once they are sentenced to prison. Out of Time deals with a technological fix. If you don't know how to rehabilitate a convict, and you believe that crime is basically a social maladjustment, then freeze the poor sucker until such time in the future that scientists have learned how to fix such antisocial deviance. Escape presents a much more humane possibility, in which